Kelly coming to you from the great city of Chicago, Illinois. I'm here today to talk about Dave and Grace Cepeda. Dave and Grace Cepeda had a very interesting search in that Dave is a doctor, Grace is a teacher, and she teaches in a suburb of Chicago about 40 miles outside the city of Chicago called Plainfield. And Dave's a doctor and he works in the suburbs as well. So Dave and Grace Cepeda, the search actually began in the South Loop. They were looking for properties, and Dave had decided that he was interested in a more interesting area outside of the South Loop. So we started looking at areas where restaurants, nightlife, and bar was more active. We looked in the Gold Coast, we looked in River North, we looked in Lincoln Park, Roscoe Village, basically the entire lakefront of Chicago. We looked at every property because he was unsure of living in a location that was quiet and not as much restaurants and nightlife and bars. So my job in this search was to kind of expose him to that element in terms of restaurants, nightlifes, bars, Gold Coast, areas where you can walk outside your door and there's a restaurant and it's hot and things are happening, whereas Grace was more quiet, she was more reserved. She liked sitting on the balcony with a glass of wine after teaching a bunch of kids all day at school. So she wanted something completely different in that she was looking for a quieter location, something with a balcony for sure, and she was seeking views. So that was her criteria. His criteria was basically location. He wanted something at River North, Gold Coast, where he could step outside the door and kind of spice things up a bit. So they had completely different searches in terms of location. So it was kind of a battle going back and forth between them two. And in real estate, typically the woman makes the final decision in most of the process. So in the end, I ended up showing Dave 17 properties in one day, which was, we looked at 17 places from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. in one day. And their price point was under about $450, under about $500,000. So it was a pretty fair budget. They were searching for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath in the city. She was looking for a balcony with views, and he wanted something more action. So we looked at 17 places in one day, which was a very long day. And then in addition to looking at 17 places in one day, Dave and I would go on weekends. He would call me and we did open houses. So we probably looked at a total of like 30 properties. And the funny thing was, they had a property out in the suburbs, and then they also had an in-town property in the South Loop. So after all that searching, we ended up coming back to the exact building where they owned a 1-bedroom in. It came on the market. As soon as it came on the market, there was multiple offers on the property, and I recommended Dave come in strong. So we came in and we ended up paying slightly above market for the property because of the activity in the South Loop, and it's so active right now. So he ended up actually paying a little bit over market, but he's really happy. He ended up getting about 1,200 square feet of space, 2-bed, 2-bath. Grace got her balcony. They do have a skyline view on the balcony, not from the unit, but yeah, it certainly was a compromise in that she wanted to stay somewhere quiet, somewhere with a balcony, near an expressway that she can get back and forth to work without any hassle, whereas Dave wanted to be in the action. And in the end, she ended up winning out. They ended up coming back to the building where their daughter was living in a 1-bedroom in. So we went full circle all across the city of Chicago. We looked at every property that matched their price point, and we ended up coming back to the building where their daughter was living at. So it was a great search. They're good people, a lot of fun, and yeah, I think they'd be a great show because we would expose the entire city of Chicago with the search, and in the end, she ended up getting what she wanted, which happens most of the time in real estate. Thanks a lot. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.